straight ahead, the consequences of caving. Will Democrats pay a political price for ending the shutdown without getting anything? And two self-described socialists now elected to big city mayor jobs nationwide. Is the party moving further left? We have a lot of questions for Congresswoman Julie Johnson. Affordability shaping up to be the issue in 2026. So how will Republicans handle health care if those costs rise? Congressman Jake Ellzey with us from Washington. Governor Abbott throwing out some bold proposals to reduce this state's sky-high property taxes. But are the proposals realistic? And Mike Collier is back, running again for Texas Lieutenant Governor, but this time as an independent. How can he do what's never been done? And if voters split, which candidate will benefit?
Inside Texas Politics with Jason Whiteley starts now.
Thank you for being here. I'm Jason Whiteley. Let's start the program off here with headlines happening across the state. We are eager to learn more about how Governor Greg Abbott wants to lower this state's sky-high property taxes if reelected. Abbott wants to limit property appraisals to every 5 years, he said, and then eliminate school property taxes. The governor did not say how, though, that public schools would be funded. He revealed his proposals as he announced that he would run for a fourth term. Abbott's campaign said he was not available, though, for an interview with us about that. Two of the most popular Democrats across the country were in Texas to rev up voters here over the last week. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker headlined a dinner for Dallas County Democrats. Remember, it was Pritzker who gave shelter to Texas Democrats when they broke quorum this summer. And then last weekend, California Governor Gavin Newsom visited Houston to thank Texas for rallying his state to respond to Republican redistricting. And there is a new update in the ongoing effort to pump groundwater out of East Texas and sell it across the state. Kyle Bass now suing to install his high-capacity water wells in Anderson County. The local groundwater conservation district and a court have put Bass's project on hold as they study just how much water would be left for everyone else. Bass, though, argues a century-old law called the rule of capture gives him permission. Let's start this morning, though, with the federal government shutdown and its reopening. It finally reopened because Senate Democrats caved. They gave in without getting anything. But will they face any political consequences for that? Congresswoman Julie Johnson is a Democrat from Dallas. Congresswoman Johnson, welcome back to the program here. You've said nearly 100,000 of your constituents in District 32 rely on the Affordable Care Act. Senate Democrats folded on their demands. What are you hearing now from those constituents?
Well, they're upset. You know, I've heard quite a bit from folks, very, very upset with how this process has handed down. They're very happy that I stood up and fought for health care and that so many of the House has and that we've really held the line. But now it's time to see what happens in these negotiations in December and see if we're actually going to get something done. If they really, mean what they say and say, yes, we'll address health care then. We're certainly ready to go to the table and keep health care available for so many North Texans.
But at the end of the day, it was Democrats that folded on their demands after standing up for this for so many days here. I mean, do you take any of the blame for it?
Well, I don't. I didn't fold, but I certainly don't agree with the decision that those 8 senators did. They made their own decision for a variety of reasons. I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of folks wanted to get paid, SNAP benefits. We were facing a lot of hunger. Our air traffic control system was about to just become a real hot mess. And so, I certainly understand why they did what they did. But having said that, I think trading off health care for millions of people, and especially us in North Texas, was not a deal I was going to make. I thought we could get it all done. I didn't think we have to pick and choose. It wasn't choices. We should have been able to take care of all of it. But, Republicans have sold the American people out.
Do you think that Democrats will pay a price for this next year?
I don't think so. I think what we've done is really elevate and highlight the difference between the party structure. Democrats have been fighting hard for health care, and what the American people learned really quickly is that Republicans are willing to sell them down the river and that they're not interested in making sure they have health care. The Republicans put a bill forth that cuts Medicaid, cuts billions of people off of the health system in the state and in the country. And so, people know. If you look at the polling on it, overwhelmingly, the American people trust Democrats on health care. The Republicans have fallen like 20 points on this issue. Trump's approval rating is in the toilet. You know, they are really struggling for what they've done to the American people.
But for clarity, it doesn't actually cut people out of health care. It just reduces the subsidies, which means that you and I will pay more if we're on the marketplace. Is that right?
Yeah, but if it's unaffordable, if it's unattainable, if it takes, you know, I have constituents that their health insurance is going to almost quadruple, you know, making $80,000 and their health insurance premiums are almost 25. That's essentially cutting it because they can't afford that.
You and I haven't spoken since New York voters elected Mamdani as mayor, and now Katie Wilson has been elected, it seems, as mayor of Seattle. She is a self-described socialist. I'm curious if you think, based on these two high-profile races, whether your party is drifting further to the left.
No, I think what you see is our party is opening up. Look, because we have Mikey Sherrill and Abigail Spanberger, two very much more moderate Democrats on the spectrum that were also elected. I think what you're seeing is the Democrats have a big tent, and we are resonating on a clear message of affordability for Americans. People are really having a hard time out there, and everything is going up. And when you have the president saying costs are going down, when everybody knows that they have less money at the end of the table, they realize that that is just false promises, and that they're very disillusioned, and they want somebody who's going to solve this affordability problem. You know, Democrats, we have a lot of folks, we have a lot of ideas. We don't agree on all of it, but we do agree on is that we need to advocate for the working people in this country, and that's what we're doing.
Congresswoman, it's good to see you. Thank you for the time.
Always good to see you, Jason.
All right, let's bring in the roundtable to talk about the politics of this. Bud Kennedy is here from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Ashley Godot is the political director at KVUE in Austin. And I am Mitra, as always, with us from the Texas Tribune in Austin. Bud, let's start with you. For as fast as politics moves these days, is anyone going to remember this shutdown a year from now when we go vote?
There is so much else going on, Jason, that I don't see this being a big factor. You know, the Democrats always wind up having to cave in these cases to get the government moving, to get things done. The Republicans do have to come back and come up with some sort of plan on insurance, on the health care, because the people who are affected are the people who are 50, 55, 60 years old, not quite on Medicare. Those are the people who vote.
And I would imagine, too, Ashley, that, you know, come the primary time, some incumbents, especially these Senate Democrats, if they're up on the ballot, they could face some resistance from Democratic primary voters.
Yeah, because I think polling showed that voters were supportive of the Democrats sort of holding out, right, to get something done on health care, and we just aren't seeing anything happening with that. Obviously, they caved in this case, and so I do think that the primaries are right around the corner, and folks will definitely remember for the primaries.
Ian, what are you expecting?
You know, people may not remember the shutdown, but what they are going to remember is what's happening to their pocketbooks. And if there's increases in people's ACA subsidies, you know, predictions of about 17% increases on average, then people are going to remember that. And, you know, Republicans, their challenge will be in this is to come up with a plan that is addressing those costs. And so that's what people are going to remember when it comes to voting time.
Yeah, good point. Affordability is fast emerging as the issue for 2026, guys. Back to you in just a moment. A lot more ahead here, including this.
With the government now reopened, will Republicans pay a price if health care costs are rising? Congressman Jake Ellzey with us from Washington when we come back. And Mike Collier trying to do what no Texan has ever done before. He's up next on Inside Texas Politics.
This is Inside Texas Politics with Jason Whiteley.
Welcome back to Inside Texas Politics. The federal government has reopened, but Congress only allocated enough money for it to operate through the end of January. So could we see another shutdown in just a couple of months? Congressman Jake Ellzey is a Republican from Waxahachie. Congressman Ellzey, it's good to see you again here. Congress has finally reopened the government, but we're going to go through this again, it sounds like, because funding only lasts till January 30th of next year. Do you expect we're going to see a repeat of what we've seen the last 45 days or so?
I don't think so, because the American people got hurt. All sides are paying a price, and especially the American people, the air traffic control, the military families, everybody has paid a price. Nobody wins in this except our adversaries who are watching this overseas. So I don't think there's a spirit for this going forward anymore. Macbeth Schumer has done it once again, where he exhibited sound and fury, signifying nothing, got nothing out of the deal except a vote in the Senate and 40 days of American shutdown, with a lot of families hurting. And we'll have 9 more bills to pass, with some of them working through the Senate and the House, getting together on a conference, others passing through, and we're going to get this done far sooner than that.
You're talking about everyone paying a price. I mean, politically, who pays the price?
Everybody. The American
think so?
people do, the Republicans, the Democrats. The one who's paid the highest price is Chuck Schumer, and because he was in a catch-22 as far as he could tell. He's trying to stave off the communists in New York. And I say that because socialism is an economic plan. The only way you enforce that is through forcefully taking people's money. So he's pushing against AOC, Mamdani in New York, and so is Hakeem Jeffries. But once again, Mr. Schumer's been doing this in Congress for 45 years. He's been in Congress since I was 10 years old, and he was in the State Assembly for 5 years prior to that. He's never really done anything right, and he's failed upward the whole time. So if it's an idea that he has to do something, usually it's going to be a bad one.
Part of the deal to get this done in the Senate was to hold a vote on whether to extend the health insurance subsidies that the Democrats were holding out for. Speaker Johnson has not agreed to do the same in the House. Do you expect that's going to happen in the House or only in the Senate?
No, sir, I can make that question. I can answer that one quickly. It's going to be a no. He's not bringing it up. And this is all they got out of 40 days of shutdown was a vote in the Senate. Like I said, sound and fury signifying nothing. He got nothing out of the deal except harm to Americans, American families, air traffic controllers, delays to the flight control, to the air traffic control system, delays in airlines, cancellations, and military families wondering when they're going to get paid next. So this has been an absolute disaster.
The Trump administration refused to release the remaining files from the Epstein case. Now Democrats and Republicans are tit for tat on releasing thousands of files. Why is transparency taking so long on this?
The Oversight Committee has still drawing out these files. Remember, this didn't happen last year. Under a Democrat administration, a couple of them, in fact, these files were never released. And I don't see anybody that I know that's against open records and transparency. So they're once again, sound and fury signifying nothing. Those files are going to be released, and eventually they'll come out anyway. But they're trying to make a big issue of this as a political ploy. And so there will be a discharge petition, which several Republicans have signed on to. It'll hit the 218 threshold, and then it'll have a week to we call it ripen. We'll be back next week, and I'm sure it'll be addressed then.
Congressman Ellzey, good to see you again.
Thank you, Jason.
For more than a decade, he has had a D next to his name on Texas ballots. Next year, you will again see Mike Collier's name on a ballot. He is making a third attempt to become Texas Lieutenant Governor, but no longer as a Democrat, this time as an independent. Mike, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you.
In the last 100 years, in this state, there hasn't been an independent candidate to win political office. Where in the world do you see a path to victory?
There's never been a time like this, Jason, and that's the point. And everybody knows that. I mean, we have a real problem in politics. The two-party system is not working. And look to Washington, and you see dysfunction and chaos. Look to Texas, and you see policies that we don't agree with. For example, Texans really want great public schools. Are we getting that? No, because we have a two-party system that elects guys like Dan Patrick. And it's a long list of things that Texans want that we aren't getting. And everywhere I go, folks say, somebody's got to do something different about this.
You're no stranger to the ballot,
right.
but this run is different. I mean, where is there a path to victory for an independent candidate in this state?
Well, I've run before, Jason, and
Sure.
so I've got an infrastructure. I do have some name recognition. I also have a fairly good idea of where those votes are, and I have relationships in all those parts of the state. And there are some white-hot issues that Texans are going to be motivated to vote. For example, public education. I mean, if you go to East and West Texas, people are very unhappy about this voucher situation. I think Texans they'd really like to have a say in this. THC, casino resorts. I mean, Texans really want to have a vote on that. And then vouchers is discussed.
Where do you stand on THC?
Well, a ban is bad. I mean, what Dan Patrick proposed and what he tried to
Total
accomplish.
ban is what he wants.
Total ban is not a good answer. It's bad for industry. It's bad for agriculture. There are a lot of people that depend on it. It's just not sensible to ban it outright. And so I think we should vote on it. It needs to be regulated. We need to take care. We have to protect our communities. But also we have to do right by our farmers, by industry, by the people that need it, and be sophisticated about what we do here.
Casino resorts, where do you stand on that?
Well, I support it. I mean, if you think about it, we have to fund public education. Property taxes are too high. How do you solve that problem? Part of the solution, in my opinion, and I think Texans will vote for this, are casino resorts. And I put emphasis on resorts because what I don't like the idea of is grimy casinos on the street corner taking advantage of people that, your heart goes out to them.
Mike, I've known you a long time. You've been a Republican in the past as an accountant, right?
Correct.
CPA. You've run as a Democrat, and now you're an independent. What do you want Texans to take away from this when they see you? It's like, hey, we've seen you kind of all over the place.
Yeah, you'll have, if you know CPAs, and I happen to be a CPA for decades, we are not partisan creatures. I mean, we are very policy-oriented, very analytical. The Republicans wouldn't help me when I wanted to run. I'm very concerned about budget and fiscal matters, where this all started. The Republicans wouldn't help me, and the Democrats would. But I'm not a partisan person, and now I look at this, and things have changed. I mean, they've really changed just in the 10 years that I've been involved. The partisan warfare is just off the charts. It's very natural for me, as a CPA, as a businessman, to hold myself out as an independent. I tell people I stand as a party of one, but I think, Jason, I stand with millions who think
so?
We need to do so. Oh, absolutely. Got to do something different.
Mike, thanks for the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
The roundtable is ready when we come back here on Inside Texas Politics. In our podcast this week, the president and CEO of DART, Nadine Lee, trying to keep the Dallas area rapid transit system together as 4 cities are calling for elections to leave the agency. She was honest and she was revealing in this episode of Y'all-itics, out right now wherever you get your podcasts.
This is Inside Texas Politics with Jason Whiteley.
All right, time now for Reporters Roundtable to put the headlines in perspective. Bud, Ashley, and Ian all back with us here. Bud, let's start with you and President Trump signing that national THC ban. It's similar to the one that Abbott vetoed here in Texas. What's this going to do?
Well, now THC backers are rallying. It's a year before it goes into effect. They say they have a year to argue for the same kind of regulation that was passed in Texas. It's a national rerun of what we just saw in Texas.
And it was kind of surprising. I wonder what the reaction was in the back rooms, though, at the Capitol, Ashley.
Well, you also have to wonder how this got in there. There's always little Easter eggs, if you will, in these bills that get passed in Washington, D.C. And you're just thinking, like, how did this come into play? We're talking about funding the government, reopening the government. Like, what's going on, guys? You're just upsetting a multi-million-dollar industry now.
Yeah, it's a good point. You got to ask those questions, too. Ian, what's your read on this?
Well, looking back at the politics of the legislature, too, this was one area where, Dan Patrick was pretty critical of Greg Abbott for his veto over the ban. And, this is, Greg Abbott was obviously under, hearing a lot about this, too. So, this is a big win for Dan Patrick. And you can see from his reaction after Congress made its approval that he was talking big about this. I mean, again, there are big business implications for this. $8 billion industry, a hemp industry in Texas. So, this is not just going to go away. It'll be a continuous debate.
Yeah, and the debate's nationwide, too, now. That's a good point there, Ian. But let's ask about the headline that we saw the other day. The Department of Justice, the federal Department of Justice, now investigating California as it's trying to redraw maps in response to what's happening in Texas. What's this about?
Well, Jason, this is interesting because the DOJ is arguing that California illegally considered race in drawing their map, that they discussed race and that they were responding to the racist map drawn in Texas. That California needs to remember that the courts are a Republican playing field. They're trying to play the game on the Republican field. They have to play by the Republican rules.
Yeah, it is a good point about the courts being a Republican playing field, but does this move anywhere? Does this impact the California maps, do you think, for next year?
I think there could be a delay in the California maps based on the DOJ argument if the courts stick by the decisions.
Wow. Ashley, we began the program here with Mike Collier just a few minutes ago, and Mike Collier is trying to do what no Texan has ever done before, win statewide office as an independent. How big of a mountain is this to climb?
The biggest mountain that you can possibly conceive is the mountain to climb. I mean, you have someone who, I think you pointed this out, at one point was a Republican and then ran as a Democrat twice and was like all in on being a Democrat when he was running as a Democrat because he had been a Republican. And now he's like, no, wait, I'm going to be an independent. I think that he truly believes that he can do right by Texas and being lieutenant governor, which is why he is trying to run. And I think he's just trying to find any way to get in that he can. I just don't know that this is the route to go.
And he's been trying to find that way in. But Ian, let me ask you this. If you have Dan Patrick as the Republican nominee, if voters decide that next March, if Vicki Goodwin is the Democratic nominee, you add Collier in, he's going to take some votes from somebody. Democratic voters certainly know him, and they supported him the last 2 cycles.
Yeah, and he's run as a Democrat, and also the platform that he's initially starting to talk about when talking about school vouchers, his opposition to them, that is something that's going to resonate with a lot of Democratic voters too. So again, it is almost certainly likely that it'll have more of an impact on the Democratic side. And of course, Dan Patrick, just a big household name in this state, and also the mountain is filled with millions of dollars in Dan Patrick's war chest too. That's going to be tough to overcome in an expensive state to run like Texas.
And to put a finer point on it, I don't like the cliche, Bud, but to put a finer point on this, does Collier take votes from Vicki Goodwin if she's a Democrat?
Well, definitely. Vicki's perceived as a weak candidate right now. This is Carol Strayhorn revisited for the Democratic Party, where you have somebody taking education votes away from the Democratic candidate. Now, I guess he could run on a ticket with Matthew McConaughey.
Indeed so. This did remind me of the Carol Keaton-Strayhorn race and the Kinky race. I think he was involved in that same cycle there too, but it does hark back to that. Guys, thanks so much. We appreciate the input and the context as always, and thank you for watching as well. We're back next Sunday to take you inside Texas politics, and we hope to see you then. Take care.